While the Hunger Games prequel novel, Sunrise on the Reaping, was highly entertaining, the games themselves have a major flaw that breaks the plot into pieces. Let's take a look. The concept for this year's Hunger Games is dystopia. It's a landscape that seems like paradise, but in reality, everything is wired to kill. The water is poisonous. The flowers are poisonous. The mountains are explosive. And the animals are killers. On the surface, it sounds like a very intense man versus nature conflict, which can be extremely engaging and has produced some iconic moments in literary and cinematic history. Well done! However, man versus nature isn't the real conflict here, and everybody knows it. The main tension in the Hunger Games novels is always between the districts and either the game makers or the Capitol or President Snow, or however you want to look at it. In concept, that still isn't an issue, but what about in execution? You may remember the mutations from the original Hunger Games. They are essentially animals that have been turned into monsters. This time around, the game makers use the mutations to target specific tributes. In one case, the mutations take out a character the game makers clearly aren't happy with, and the mutts ignore the other tributes in the vicinity. Katniss's mutations didn't have this tracking technology. Instead, they attacked anyone and everyone. Unleashing mutations in those games was horrifying and powerful. But when the game makers control the killer bunnies and sick them on any tribute they want and make sure only that tribute is killed, it breaks the structure of the games. It reeks of choosing the winner. And to be fair, I can get behind that. It's nasty and such a clear message to the districts to say, we control you. But the Capitol doesn't really do that. In fact, the opposite happens. Haymitch actively calls out the Capitol before the games even start, and during the competition attempts to break the arena. From my point of view, the game maker should have taken him out the moment he made an attempt to sabotage the arena. I really don't understand why they didn't. The only argument I can really see for not sicking the mutations on Haymitch post-sabotage is that the audience liked him, and the game makers would lose popularity with the Capitol citizens if they killed him off. Technically, this is a possibility, but it seems like I'm grasping for straws considering President Snow already threatened Haymitch before the games even started. To me, this looks like an author oversight, a gaping plot hole. What do you guys think? Did Suzanne Collins miss this? Were the game makers trying to maintain their popularity, or are they completely incompetent and let Haymitch win despite all the reasons not to? Despite this issue I have with Sunrise of the Reaping, I'd say it's one of the better novels that I've read so far this year. Check out what I loved about it by clicking the card.
Crikey, I just saw a mouse.